New Year's resolutions are quite popular at a time when we consider making positive changes in our lives. With us on today's show is Dr. Divya Selkumar, manager of BCDA's Nutrition Office, who will be sharing information about healthy eating for the new year. Due to a range of health concerns, please remember to check with your physician prior to making any changes in your dietary habits. Dr. Divya, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Making better food selections to either improve one's health or even lose weight always seems to be priority when a new year begins. Dr. Divya, why is it important to make good food choices to improve one's health?
All of us as a whole have to take care of ourselves from time to time, and eating the right types of food is extremely important because if you take a good look at your current health status, any individual, it is very much related to the old saying, you are what you eat and you are also what you digest. The food that you consume definitely is going to give you your current overall health status. Are you consuming a lot of food, for example, that is high in saturated fat, cholesterol, and sugar? Maybe this is the reason why you are struggling with problems with heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and hypertension. So if we do not take care of ourselves, we don't eat the right types of food, as well as also make adjustments in our lifestyle, ultimately it is going to create problems with us overall. So the new year, every time when we start a brand new year, we want to see if we can focus on something that really is very important to us. And one of them is making it a point to ensure that you eat the right types of healthy food, such as whole grains, a lot of fruits and vegetables, cutting back on simple carbohydrates, limiting your fat and sugar intake. With regard to protein, choosing lean protein foods such as white meat, chicken, turkey, fish, and tuna, etc. And in order to make sure that you are eating a balanced diet, it's also important to ensure that you're eating foods at the right time of the day, as well as incorporating that with physical exercise, stress management, and proper sleeping habits. So overall, it is so important that we have to take care of ourselves with regards to eating the right types of food from day one.
How long would you say it takes to alter a habit or pattern since willpower often becomes an issue when omitting foods we love from our diets?
It varies from person to person. Every individual is different. And we all have to remember that each and every one of us are unique, and we should not be comparing ourselves to anybody else. And this is much easier said than done because this is where the importance of self respect and self esteem and being able to focus on the goal is very important. If you are truly, say, determined to lose weight, all right, you have to take a good look at your lifestyle, and you also have to look at your commitment and be able to, say, create a few objectives as well as a couple of goals for the purpose of ensuring that you achieve what you really want to achieve. For example, usually I recommend when it comes to losing weight, no more than 1 to 2 pounds per week. But this can vary from person to person because every individual, depending on their age as well as the current metabolism and the also current medical status, it can vary. If some people can lose, for example, like a lot faster than others. Others take quite a long time. So if we want to really give a particular time period, it is not always possible, but I usually have like observed perhaps maybe a couple of months, 1 to 2 months to be able to adjust to your new lifestyle. So this can vary from, again, with every individual, sometimes starting with 2 months, and it can even go for as long as 6 months, but it all depends on the person itself.
Dr. Divya, to support healthy eating, is it helpful to maintain a diary so that one can document an account of the foods they consume on a daily basis?
Oh, yes. To create a food log is something that several of my clients have done in the past, and it has been very helpful for them. And what they do is they take a look at the food that they eat for breakfast, snacks in between meals, lunch, and dinner. And I always ask them, what do you think when you take a good look at, say, a 3 day or 4 day, account of all the food that you eat? What food do you think could be removed? And what could you say include more? What could you say that you could completely like eliminate altogether? What maybe perhaps the food that you can consume in smaller amount? So this gives a client an idea and sort of gives a record. So because many people, unfortunately, when they are struggling to lose weight, they absentmindedly put food in their mouth because they're hungry. They're not really paying attention to their diet. Their mind is like scattered all over the place where they are quite stressed from whatever current situation that they're dealing with. So that is something that we really want to look at. So a food diary and or a log can definitely be very beneficial and helpful in the long run. Yes.
Why should processed food be avoided?
Well, anything that is processed usually is has an abundance of nutrients, or I would say, items that should not be included in our diet. For example, too much of fat, too much of cholesterol, too much of unneeded and unnecessary sugar. So we try to look at the foods and try to select good foods, but often it becomes difficult because when we are not too sure where a particular food comes from, then we may find that food, if it has like a sort of an ambiguous label, if you cannot even understand the ingredients too well, it probably has a lot more things that your body really doesn't need in the long run. So processed food generally has been known, as well as refined food and things that are like put a lot of artificial chemicals and preservatives, etc., just for the purpose of promoting the food to make it taste good, another way. It has shown to unfortunately contribute to greater amounts of saturated fat and cholesterol, which can lead to heart disease. The problems with putting more weight than necessary, that is being overweight or obese, increasing your blood pressure with too much of salt in it, I should have also mentioned before. And if you happen to have a family history of diabetes, increasing the amount of unnecessary and excess sugar, which can cause problems with the overall blood sugar level overall.
Dr. Divya, what advice can you provide to support our viewers in helping them to maintain a regimen of healthier food choices, including satisfying that sweet tooth we all seem to have?
Remember, life is about enjoying, okay? But you should also remember you should never underindulge or overindulge when it comes to food. Having that balanced diet is very important. And when we talk about balanced diet, it can vary again from person to person according to the current person's weight as well as height. And so eating healthy foods is important. And if you want to have like the treats, because after all, the holidays are coming very here, it is okay to have, except if you are truly very serious about wanting to lose weight, instead of taking say a large slice of apple pie or cherry pie or something, perhaps maybe you can cut that pie in half, or that slice in half, I would say, like a cherry. If it's like, say, something like cookies and other treats and things for the holiday, maybe perhaps if you're taking like a small amount. So if you really do have a sweet tooth and a craving for, sweet, just keep in mind, see if you can go for a small amount. So maybe a rule of thumb, you can think about it, just take, well, here's the big slice, maybe I could take half of it, or maybe a quarter of it, and see how you feel. And then gradually, when you start training your mind to learning to cut back, and this is something that's going to take quite some time, and this is where the willpower and the focus and commitment is going to be, taking into consideration. This is eventually you'll start to learn to appreciate that you don't need so much of that sweet food. You can just take a small amount, but that doesn't mean that you should completely eliminate it and miss out on the wonderful things that life has to offer.
Good to know. When we think about eating healthy, what are the key items we should try to increase as well as those we should attempt to avoid?
Some of them would be fresh fruits and vegetables. You can't go wrong with them. I would say fresh, not frozen. I would not recommend anything that has been like like in cans or anything, but fresh food. If you can, like fruits and vegetables would be a really good, for example. I would suggest that try to see if you can incorporate a vegetable in a lunch and dinner. And for fruit in between meals, it's always a good idea to eat fruits in between meals because the natural content of the sugar will digest much better if you eat a fruit by itself as opposed to eating it with something else. And another thing to look at would be perhaps like looking at some whole grains. For example, if you're not sensitive to gluten, such as whole wheat and bran and barley and oat, and even other grains like quinoa, things like bulgur, buckwheat, couscous. All of these are other important grains that you could just try. And for protein, also try to see if you can look at more for the plant-based protein, such as beans and tofu and seitan, and these would be very, very beneficial for you because they help to cut back on unnecessary amount amount of fat and cholesterol. So all of these different types of foods can be very much beneficial in the long run. And of course, you also, if you are interested in trying different foods and experimenting and also bringing more recipes to the table for example, during the pandemic, it would be really beneficial for you to do that.
One last question. What advice can you share for preparing foods that are flavorful and healthy?
Try to use a lot of spices. That would be one thing I would like to recommend. And something like experimenting with different types of oil. I would recommend, like, for example, cooking oil, olive oil, canola oil. I personally like to use avocado oil. I also tried sesame oil. So different types of oils and to make your food flavorful. Occasionally you can, because in my culture, since considering my family is from India, and we in our community, we use a lot of the coconut oil, even though coconut oil had been like criticized quite a bit for a lot of saturated fat. If you use it in small amounts and not on a frequent basis, it's perfectly okay. And using that, you can just try to use different types of oil as well as bring in the types of spices in there. And here in the U.S., we have various different types of communities that come from all around the world. So many different ethnic cuisine, and foods that are very popular here are Italian, Chinese, Mexican, even Indian. And if you also were to look at the traditional American food, you'll see that they use a variety of different types of spices. Things such as rosemary, oregano, basil, parsley. In my culture, we use a lot of cumin and turmeric and chili powder, and all these other different spices. If you put it in there, I think definitely, and enjoy the whole process of cooking, that definitely would promote your appreciation and enthusiasm towards food.
Thank you, Dr. Divya, for being a guest on today's show. I know your information helped a lot of viewers start their healthy eating journey.
It is my pleasure. And on behalf of the Baltimore County Department of Aging, I am the Nutrition Program Manager. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to have me on your TV program today.
We're going to take a short break, but first, please consider viewing BCDA's new fitness videos on Comcast Channel 25, offered Monday through Friday at 8:25 a.m. BCDA's exciting new fitness videos include classes on chair yoga, power-up cardio, strength training, Tai Chi, and Zumba. When we return, we will conclude today's show with what's happening, virtually that is, in BCDA's senior centers.